Now, one other interesting thing, and I know in the earlier presentation we sort of talked about regulations and how they impact community banks. I want to sort of go out and give you this example because I've sort of seen in my career companies would come and present to me. They wanted to market something to me, and they would sort of come and talk about it, and they would always tell me, you know what, we are from the federal group. And I would ask them, how do you really interact with your state and local groups? And they would tell me, you know what, they're different. We're just focused on federal. And I would ask them, what do you do with your commercial guys? And they'd say, oh, they're different. We just do our federal side. What I want to go out and tell you is the impact federal has on the whole ecosystem. And I want you to sort of think of what that means in your context, whether you're a federal government person, state or local, or a private sector. So take the example of No Child Left Behind. This was the Bush era law, the regulation that sort of came in. I know that when this particular regulation came in, there were significant changes in IT required within certain systems within the federal government. So it immediately impacted federal IT. But then, because these systems were also interacting with state, and states had to collect a lot of data, there's immediate impact on all the 50 states. So there's huge changes there. And oh, by the way, at that time, I used to be the CTO at the Fairfax school system. And we know at that time it immediately affected us because all the school system had to collect all this data and sort of send it to the state, who would then send it to the federal government. So huge changes within the local government. And then, not to be outdone, because this law was so large and it was doing so many things, a lot of private sector companies got in this and started developing products. And so it affected the private sector. And so what I'm saying here is, you can't look at federal as its one all isolated entity. If you want to really get into this public sector marketplace, or if you want to get into niche areas of private sector, you need to start understanding this continuum and start working around those areas. Very, very critical. I can give you my example. We would create systems, and when I was at DOT, and one of our systems would require connections from various other state or local or other area systems. And each of them would sort of develop their own individual system. And so by the time we send out data, and by the time it got processed and some additional data got added, and by the time it came back, it was in 50 different shapes. And we spent a ton of money just trying to clean it up and trying to get work done there. So if you sort of look at the bottom slides there, what I sort of want to give a view here is, with a platform like Appian, there's a lot of opportunity to create mission-specific or mission support kind of platforms. So I give you an example here of safety platform. So today, if you sort of look at the federal government, I would say there are tons of safety systems within federal government. So FAA might have their own safety system, Food and Drug Administration might have their own safety system, TSA might have their own safety system, and all of them are built around different technologies, different platforms. They don't integrate data, they don't share data, so there are lots of problems there. But if you actually go back and start studying the safety systems itself, you will start seeing almost 80-90% of the safety systems have a commonality. So each safety system normally requires registration. Each safety system requires compliancy. Each safety system requires enforcement. Each safety systems have inspectors. So if you sort of look at it, there's an opportunity now to create a safety platform. And if you actually did create a safety platform, that platform now could be used for food safety, transportation safety, environmental safety. There are lots of places you can do that. And that's the kind of things that we are looking at trying to do, where we are trying to save money in the federal government. And if you did that, then you could almost have this TurboTax kind of model, where you could have a federal platform, and you could have a state platform, and you could have a local platform that you could market it to different places. Because there's going to be data required from some other places to come in. So you could do that, and then you could also always have APIs to connect with the private sector developers and create new apps around that. So huge, huge opportunity. I did not see a lot of innovation in this space when I was sort of there. I was really, really pushing for this kind of innovation, but it didn't happen a lot. We started doing a lot of stuff, and that's where I sort of started looking at the public-private innovation marketplace. Let me give you one more perspective from a leadership point of view. So if you sort of look at the slide, on the left-hand side are all the public sector entities that sort of are involved when I say, what is the public sector? In the blue, those are the areas that the very top leadership is really looking at. So if you look at the secretary or somebody at that level, secretary of agency, those are the kind of things that they are looking at. And on the right are things which a CIO is sort of looking at across an agency. So if you look at agency head kind of person, what they are seeing is really increased deficits, declining budgets, aging infrastructure, very, very quick expectation of results. This is really something new. Now everybody expects, it's like we live in this app economy, right? So they want the system to sort of come out in a couple of days. And they also want, while we are doing, they also want to create private sector jobs. So this is what an agency head perspective is. And if you look at the CIO perspective, they have a slightly different perspective. They're looking at consistent policies. Now you need to realize, places like DOT and others, we had 400 major systems. Very, very large. So we are looking at comprehensive governance. We are looking at technology standardization. Again, a place where Appian could help, rapid innovation. We are looking at commodity pricing. We want to get as low as we can on pricing. Speedy implementation, ease of maintenance, and effective modernization. Those are the kind of things that we were looking at when we were trying to, get some of our major systems going.